My name is Natasha, and I am here to talk about whether or not paying surrogates in Canada should be decriminalized. So, in Canada, it is a criminal offense to pay somebody, advertise payment, accept payment for surrogacy. Instead, surrogates can be reimbursed for expenses related to the process up to an amount determined in the legal agreement. So, the question of should paying surrogates be decriminalized is definitely one that is widely talked about amongst the community. So, surrogacy, protected under the Assisted Human Reproductive Act, is the process where a woman carries a child via assisted reproduction for somebody else with full intentions of the intended parent or parents raising the child. So, there are two types of surrogates. There are traditional surrogates, where the intended parent uses the surrogate's egg. This type of surrogacy is not very common at all, just because there are some more legal things behind the fact that the surrogate would be genetically related to the child. And then there's the gestational carriers, which is where I fall into place, where an embryo is implanted into the carrier via in vitro fertilization. This way, there is no genetic link to the child, as the eggs come from a donor or the intended mother. So the AHR Act was put into place to protect women's rights to their health and to ensure consent is given prior to any treatments. So this was back in March 2004, after the Government of Canada reached out to the Royal Commission on New Reproductive Technologies to review what is available for those who are suffering from infertility. So surrogates can be reimbursed their pregnancy-related expenses up to about $33,000, depending on the legal agreement. So a surrogate must be involved with fertility lawyers to draft up legal agreements with the intended parents, usually after medical clearance but prior to embryo transfer. Now, all of this is set up by the surrogacy agency, and then all expenses for the lawyer are covered by the intended parent or parents. So a surrogate's expenses include things like travel, such as mileage, hotels, or flights, medications and supplements, telecommunications, gym memberships, physical therapy and massage, counseling, maternity clothing, all that stuff. And it wasn't until recently that they've allowed things like groceries, pet care expenses like dog walking and cat litter scooping, childcare, home maintenance like snow removal and lawn mowing, and wage loss for things like appointments, bed rest, and birth recovery. Now, not all of these expenses fall into the monthly reimbursement. So, for example, let's say a surrogate's monthly reimbursement is $2,500 per month. Not everything falls under that. Some things are considered special expenses, such as maternity clothing and counseling, and those the surrogate would get a separate amount to use towards those things. Again, it's all contract dependent. All the expenses must be accompanied by not only receipts, but the declarations, usually drafted within the legal contracts as well, to ensure that the expenses are being incurred appropriately and the surrogate gets reimbursed the appropriate amounts. So this here is just like a little bit of a breakdown of surrogacy in Canada. This talks about how it is protected under the Canadian Assisted Human Reproductive Act. The agreements in Canada must be altruistic, and the surrogate can be reimbursed. Babies born through surrogacy in Canada will automatically be Canadian citizens, and they are able to obtain a Canadian passport, which is fantastic. Intended parents, married and unmarried couples of any sexuality, and single women and men can all enter surrogacy agreements in Canada, and the baby's birth certificate should be issued within a couple of weeks of birth and can record both intended parents as the parents, which is fantastic. So surrogates in Canada must do this for altruistic reasons, bringing intended parents from all over the world to use Canadian agencies and surrogates. So considering the circumstances, it is an extreme act of service. The physical and emotional struggles that women go through during pregnancy, as well as the risks associated with pregnancy, birth, and the entire process vary greatly, which is why women need to undergo testing, counseling, and legal agreements. It is exactly for those reasons why some people think surrogates in Canada should be paid or compensated for their service, since the body goes through so much. So this here is a bit of a chart that kind of shows you the difference between surrogacy in Canada and the United States and the costs associated with certain important fees. None of this includes donor fees. So Canada is red, The United States is in teal. You can see that the amounts for things, especially like medical fees and the payment to surrogate, are the absolute highest, as well as agency fees. But yeah, the difference is incredible, which is why most parents kind of seek to Canada for surrogacy services. So surrogates in the States get a base pay of about $25,000 in addition to their reimbursed pregnancy related expenses. So Canada is also a popular spot because not only does our fertility lawyers, agencies, and clinics accept international intended parents, we also welcome homosexual couples, unlike places in the States where they don't allow that at all, and the countries that don't allow surrogacy or, again, don't want to work with homosexual couples. So Canada as a whole provides so much more to intended parents locally and internationally. Surrogates only have one thing that they want to do here, and that's to help somebody create their family. So this little thing here kind of talks about the difference between the States and Canada. So the type of surrogacy in the States is very commercial. Like I said, they receive a base pay in addition to their monthly reimbursements, and this typically doesn't attract the best woman, whereas in Canada, we do it for altruistic reasons because we genuinely want to help somebody create a family. The cost of surrogacy in the States, like that little chart before, is much higher, whereas Canada is a lot lower. The time to be matched in the States is a lot lower compared to Canada. And for example, I was matched within, I'm going to say 2 weeks of signing up to be a surrogate. And then pre-birth order. The States, yes. Canada, no. So that is definitely considered an issue. However, again, contract depending, the contracts do state that the intended parents here in Canada, or sorry, not the intended parents, the surrogates in Canada have absolute full intentions of letting the intended parents raise the child. So, the reasoning behind most intended parents choosing surrogacy in Canada is definitely fully understandable. Although women go through a lot in the process with medications, their time, body changes, birth, recovery, it's definitely more than enough to reimburse us surrogates, as all expenses incurred don't go unnoticed and they're given back to us, which I think is completely fair. I feel like we don't really need a base pay like they do in the States. Again, it kind of attracts bad eggs. But for those intended parents looking for someone special to grow their family, finding the right person can be challenging. And that's what an agency is for. But yeah, payment's not the answer. Women aren't forced to do this. They choose to do this. And a large payment won't change the mind and heart of somebody who genuinely wants to help give those the family that they've dreamed of. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the information in this presentation.